Welcome back to Planet Earth, Our Loving Home, featuring two highly knowledgeable environmental scientists from Australia, Dr. Clive McAlpine and Gerard Bishop. In his paper, Increasing World Consumption of Beef as a Driver of Regional and Global Change, a call for policy action based on evidence from Queensland, Australia, Colombia and Brazil, Dr. McAlpine examines the effects of deforestation on climate variability at both the regional and global levels.
The main cause of sort of global climate change is the increase in atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases, especially CO2, but also methane and nitrous oxide. And we highlighted those three sort of gases which are either emitted directly from cattle, for example methane, or through the conversion of native forests to pastures, which releases the CO2 back in the atmosphere. So the other process which we also highlight, and which I've highlighted in some other papers, is that the clearing of the land actually changes the hydrological cycle and also the energy balance of the landscape, so that you're getting more essentially heat radiated back from the land surface, and that's changing atmospheric processes, and you're also reducing the amount of moisture that's recycled back in the atmosphere by trees. It's estimated that native forests can recycle up to 20% of moisture back in the atmosphere, which is then used to form clouds, etc. So that impact is more important at a regional scale than it is at a global scale.
In the same paper, Dr. McAlpine and his colleagues proposed the following policy measures to address the hugely adverse regional and global impacts of the beef industry. 1. Stop subsidizing beef production and promoting beef consumption. 2. Control future expansion of soybeans and extensive grazing to halt deforestation and savanna conversion. 3. Strategic protection and restoration of regrowth forests. And 4. Resources allocated to ecologically sensitive alternative land uses. Following from the first measure, Dr. McAlpine also discusses concentrated animal feeding operations in the paper and why they are also squarely responsible for accelerating climate change.
I think when you look at the greenhouse gases coming out of feedlots, they've got higher levels of methane coming from the cattle. They're also very high in nitrous oxide, which gets into water tables.
Regarding the other measures, Dr. McAlpine further explains.
Just following on from the other points in that paper, it's really critical that we put in really strong strategies now to stop deforestation in regions such as the Amazon, but also in Southeast Asia and in Africa, where there's increasing pressures on forests. We need to do that now, as if we're going to start mitigating climate change. The conservation of native forests is critical in that whole strategy. But we also need to protect these regrowth forests, because they have an important sort of environmental benefit both from greenhouse gases and also for biodiversity and for these sort of biophysical feedbacks to the land surface and the climate.
As Dr. McAlpine asserts, it is vitally important to allow for the regrowth of forests and for grazing lands to revert back to their native vegetation. But what about tree planting initiatives to sequester carbon? Are they having the desired effect? Mr. Bishop explains.
Tree clearing and reforestation are very interesting subjects in Australia. The average tree clearing now in Australia is about 100 to 200,000 hectares per year. This is even now with tighter government controls on tree clearing. The average area of planting is about 5,000 hectares per year. So that planting is a combination of planting to offset carbon emissions it's environmental planting to reforest rivers and streams, and it's forestry planting on properties, on private properties. But the combination of all those together is not even 1% of the tree clearing.
It's abundantly clear from numerous scientific studies and research bodies that halting animal agriculture and adopting the plant-based diet will enable us to regain environmental and climatic stability. When asked about the recent report by the United Nations Environmental Programme urging the world to quickly move away from consuming animal products to avoid the frightening consequences of climate change, Dr. McAlpine responded.
Yeah, I'd support that. We also need to look at these animal products and the broad issue of land use and how we're managing land use in a changing climate. If we focus purely on climate change and greenhouse gases without looking at land use, including beef cattle grazing and other forms of livestock grazing, then we're still going to have problems further down the track.
In his upcoming paper, Deforestation and Land Degradation in Queensland, the Culprit, Mr. Bishop concludes that halting livestock farming in Australia would have the following highly beneficial effects. Stop 200,000 hectares of tree clearing each year. Encourage native vegetation regrowth over 64% of Australia. Slow and ultimately reverse species and biodiversity loss. Reverse regional climate change. Reduce Australia's greenhouse emissions by at least 30%. Halt soil degradation and loss. And make us all healthier too. Our heartfelt thanks, Dr. Clive McAlpine and Gerard Bishop, for your comprehensive research that further demonstrates that livestock farming must be halted now so that we can heal and restore planet Earth to her natural order. May humankind quickly awaken and adopt the nature-supporting and life-affirming organic vegan diet. For more details on Dr. McAlpine, please visit www.gpem.uq.edu.au/Clive-McAlpine. Thank you for joining us today on Planet Earth, our loving home. Enlightening entertainment is next, following noteworthy news. Through compassionate living, may our world soon cool and return to splendid harmony and balance.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/PE.